Long-running prog rockers Arena have just released a brand new album called The Theory of Molecular Inheritance. How does it stack up against their previous work, and what are my thoughts? Come back and find out.
For many years, I have always considered Arena to be living in the shadows of groups such as Genesis and Marillion. The band have carved out their own niche in that time with a very British style of neoprog, but considering their supergroup credentials, should they have had a greater success? The group consists of Clive Nolan, who has been in Pendragon, Shadowland, and Strangers on a Train, Mick Pointer, who was a founding member of Marillion, and John Mitchell, who managed to be in Arena at the same time as It Bites and Frost and various other projects. For this, their 10th release, this supergroup credentials are boosted furthermore by the arrival of Damian Wilson, previously of Headspace and Threshold fame. The slightly pretentious title of the album, The Theory of Molecular Inheritance, is derived from the idea that molecules from deceased people later come back in another life and possibly start living their own life again. The concept and lyrics of The Theory of Molecular Inheritance are by the main songwriter, Clive Nolan. The production and the mix, again, are the work of Mitchell, and he has succeeded in making the whole thing sound solid without being overly heavy. The lightness that this produces also offers enough space for drummer Mick Pointer and bassist Kylan Amos to come into the limelight sufficiently. Fans of Arena will certainly find plenty here to like. Time Capsule has everything we've come to expect from the band. There's a good prog metal guitar chord sequence as well. It is a neatly constructed melodic song and a short solo from Mitchell, too, that this track is very much Arena in a nutshell. There's perhaps a slightly harder edge here than throughout the rest of the album, probably the result of a change in the balance of sound, more towards guitar and less towards keyboard driven than in the past. In terms of the vocals, some might prefer Wilson over Paul Manzi, or vice versa, but personally, I would say this will sit on the fence for that argument. They are both great singers. However, Wilson has a more natural storytelling vocal style, which certainly fits this album perfectly. Highlights on the album include the Hylige and Stant Legacy, which opens with a gorgeous rippling piano and a wonderfully delicate vocal delivery from Wilson, with some very hard to reach high notes, I'd say, which then alternates with a rockier section. Field of Sinners is another standout with its irresistible groove. Pure of Heart is a brilliant prog metal song, and the album closes in a satisfactory way with Life Goes On. It's a clear attempt to write the sort of epic and sort of album statement that prog fans love, and it works as a treat as it builds up via Mitchell's best solo on the album to the sublime final anthemic melody. To be honest, it took quite a while for this album to grow on me. Oddly, it was vocal hooks that caught me first, which surprised me given how keyboard-centric this album is. But maybe it's a firm underline that Wilson, with his empathetic vocal, is the best success on his first album with Arena. It's a long album, nudging past just the hour mark, and it's the second half that's growing on me the most. Equation is surely the highlight of the first half, but I'd have to be hard-pressed to choose between Life Goes On and Pure of Heart for the second. And here are some final thoughts on the album. To these years, past Arena albums, and including this one, have had a certain safeness about them, remaining with an easy on the ear, polite, progressive sound. Mitchell also seems to vary in service of these songs and not used to his full potential. Drums sound very robotic and cold and mechanical and lack a lot of punch. Despite being the most likable Arena album I've heard so far, the only ones I've heard are The Visitor, Immortal, and Contagion. And this to my ears sounds nothing more than splicing and dicing of repeated sounds and riffs from past songs, and with a great singer singing about topics that are more relevant to the current time. It's not a bad album, guys. I just think it could have had so much more potential to it, but like I said, this is Arena, and they seem to play things safe. As a final rating, I'm going to give the album an 83%.